Right.
Well, hello. Hello, Facebook friends. I am so glad to be with you. I don't think I'm on Spanish by the book. I think I'm on
Wait,
my Adrienne Petty
I don't
site.
think it's working.
I think it's working. It's working. It's working. Yeah. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm
Awesome.
ready.
Awesome sauce. Yes, it's working. And I wanted to talk tonight with anybody who wanted to learn a little bit about languages, about this wonderful new system that I've created to help parents and caregivers of every kind and teachers, woohoo, teachers, to teach their children in their learning group, whatever your learning group is, help you to teach Spanish to the people in your learning group. And this system is really cool. It's taken me years to kind of figure out what works best in a family group. When I was teaching elementary school, so many times the parents came in and they wanted to, they wanted to learn. We're talking on the playground in
Hold
different
on.
places.
Do you have people there that are there?
Probably
Okay,
not.
go here. Make it bigger. Okay, so you're live. You've got one person here.
That's great.
But people need time to. Oh, okay, I see. I can see you.
So maybe you
You've
can
got
just.
3 people now following.
That's
Or
great.
watching.
That's great. Great. Okay, we were talking. So this Spanish thing, it's just blown up in the last 20 years. It's become something that's hugely important for jobs. And I'm not sure. This is one of those exploratory conversations. So I'd like to hear from you some of your reasons why you'd like to learn a language, what you'd like to do with a language. Any thoughts on that? Share in the chat. I know everybody has different reasons. A lot of people want to do things with their work. They want to be able to speak to customers whose first language is Spanish, or they want that benefit that you get in the brain from having Spanish as just something that expands your thinking. And so I have a system, and I'm not sure who it will work for in terms of the whole world, but it definitely will work in family groups because one of the biggest problems is one person in the family is studying Spanish. They're taking a class at the college. They're taking a class at church, just like I finished last Sunday teaching a class at my church of adults. And the great thing about the class was we suddenly had community. We had someone you could talk with. And unless you have someone to talk to, it's kind of a little random going up to people in the grocery store. Hola, me llamo Adrienne. De donde es usted? Trying to start up conversations or just random. I have a random conversation with one of my friends at work, and Reggie just wants to learn Spanish. And so whenever I have to talk with him, I try and give him that basic. But that doesn't happen a lot, and you need some pouring in. So how is it that you would like to use Spanish? Is it in a family group? Is it for a job? Do you want to be able to travel? What's your thought? Whatever your thought is, I want to share my system. I don't know right now. I thought I was going to be able to share my screen, and I'm not sure if screen sharing is happening. So we're just going to have to go without screen sharing for right now. It won't be a problem. We can figure it out. I'm just going to throw over here in this other screen what I was going to share, and let's see if I can just talk through it rather than share it. We can do it. We can do all things. So one of the things that I liked to do for language learning that helped me in my language learning journey was reading. And you say, Adrienne, what do you mean reading? How am I reading books and newspapers in Spanish? Okay, I understand that. I don't expect anybody to start reading books and newspapers in your new language. I get that. But what you could do is use this wonderful system that I've created that helps you to transition. You kind of do this weaving process where you find text that is similar, text that's the same in Spanish and in English, or close, and you get really comfortable with the English text. And once you're really comfortable with the English text, you start kind of exploring the Spanish text. You already know the English. You've read it in English many times, and you start exploring the Spanish text word by word, maybe phrase by phrase. And what kind of books would have this text that would be comfortable enough for you to explore? Okay, I'm ready. What kind of books? They would be children's books. It would definitely be children's books. And you say, Adrienne, wait a minute, I'm grown, or my kid is 13 or 14. How am I going to introduce children's books to someone at an older age? I understand it's sometimes a little uncomfortable, but the great thing about children's books is they've got simplified language, beautiful grammar, pictures to support your learning, and the stories are something that connects to you, especially if they're stories like, let's say, Buenas noches, Luna, good night, moon, that you may have heard about or you want to enjoy in English. Even if you didn't read it before in English, this might be a time for you to introduce this to yourself, your learners, whoever's in your group. So I want to show you a system for how to do that. The system is really, really simple. You spend some time reading the book in English. Everybody can read a book in English, and all the research says we should all be readers, more ourselves, more reading, less Netflix, more reading, less just, not really doing anything. And as you're reading the text in English, you're just enjoying it, learning the stories, naming the things, sharing the story multiple times. It's okay. You know how that 4-year-old wants to read it again, read it again? It's okay to read it again so that you are saturated with the text of this story. And once you feel like you've mastered it, you know the story, you almost can see different elements of the story in different places. Like when they're saying goodnight to in the book, they say Buenas noches, gatito, and you see a cat. You say, oh, there's a cat in the book. And they say buenas noches, or good night. We're first in English now, we're just in English. And they say good night, mittens, and you know the story. Then it's time to start looking for ways, especially if you're sharing this with a young learner, looking for ways that you can incorporate some of the words in the story. What's the first phrase that you could share out of the book in Spanish? You could, instead of saying in English, all through the book, page after page, instead of saying good night moon, good night stars, good night cow, good night mittens, good night this or that, whatever's in the story, you could switch and begin to say buenas noches and still say the English. We're just switching just a little bit. You say buenas noches, and you want to say moon, you can say moon. You want to say luna, you can say luna, whatever you're comfortable. And your listeners, the people in your listening and your learning group, whatever your listeners are comfortable. Do you change all the words instantly the first time you pick up the Spanish? Do you change all the words? No, too much. So what you would do is you've got your English text and you've got your Spanish text. And sometimes I just got this great gift today because it's kind of my birthday on my job. And one of my coworkers bought me this book because we made a wish list. And this was one of the things I wished for. And I love it because it's the English and the Spanish. Even though it's a board book version, I'm okay with that because you can stick it in your purse, you can stick it in your school bag, and you can have some language learning on the go. So you're reading the English text and you get yourself a sticky note and just put a sticky note on the front or maybe in the margin of a particular page that you're reading. Just put a sticky note right there to say, okay, here's my English text, but I want to change the word room to cuadro or dormitorio, or I want to change the word light to luz. And you just do that the next time. Are these books that you're going to borrow from the library, read for 2 or 3 weeks, and then send right back? No, this is going to take time, but language learning takes time. And then the smart thing to do is to have more than one book that you're reading at a time. So this might be your base book, and you spend time reading the English, and while you're reading the English of this, maybe you're reading the English, because I love that this book has it all in there together. You're reading the English of con mi hermano, with my brother. And you're reading the English, and if you're reading to a younger person, you read just the English, but you're noticing the Spanish. Am I ever concerned about your pronunciation? No, that's part of my coaching time, because the coaching time will help support you with getting comfortable with speaking in Spanish. It'll help you to get comfortable with knowing what's important and what's not important. And I'll provide you with lots of games and activities and suggestions for how to take the language right out of the book into your speaking vocabulary, because it doesn't help to just read the book. It helps if you begin to use the word hermano when you're talking to your brother, talking about your brother, or beginning to use the word baseball or jugar or whatever it is that's in the story. You begin to use the words in the story to help you learn. I think it's a cool system because everyone is learning together. Your language group can include the grandparents. A grandparent can read to them in English and say that one word that you've got on the sticky note. A cousin can come over and join your language group. It's not the same thing as, oh, I have to take my kids to Spanish class and you have to stay here and you can't participate. They can participate in the 5 or 10 minutes when you pile up on the couch before you get ready to eat dinner and you read a book and add a few Spanish words. And then what happens after you do this over a period of time? Over a period of time, you get to the point where you're so comfortable with this story, you've seen the words in this story, and then you begin to have all this like cross pollination where the words from one story come up in another story, and then they come up in another story again and again and again. You see the words connecting in different places, and when you make all those connections, they're going to be pouring into your head, just pouring in, and you will begin to pour out what's poured in, especially when you're using the activities that I'm giving you and your group is communicating. Any questions about that? Does that sound like something you can do? If that's something you can do, say I can do that in the chat, because I know you all can do that. That's great. Well, I just wanted to share that little system. It's a quick share today just to say hi and welcome to the Spanish by the Book learning system. If that's something you're interested in, send me a comment here and I'll get back with you so we can find out how to do more language learning, lifting that language right out of books and into your speaking and listening vocabulary. This is Adrienne from Spanish by the Book saying, use your language skills to make connections and build bridges. Buenas noches. Good night.